Welcome to Divine Dinners Simply. My name is Vernon. I've been retired for 6 years and devoting my spare time, in fact all my time, to learning how to cook. This is Hugh Gadsby, the oatmeal savage, who started off at the age of 15 apprenticing in Scotland with an experienced chef. He's been 35 years in the business and he is great. Now, in all our meals, what we're doing is we're preparing a 3-course meal for you and your guests. In this case, the starter is going to be pear and parsnip soup, followed by boneless chicken breast on a bed of tomatoes and deli olives. And following that, we have a very simple apple tart. These meals are all easy to prepare. They're made from fresh ingredients, available locally. There's no yak's milk involved in these kind of cooking. It's going to be absolutely simple. You're going to have a great time, and remember, cooking is fun. Now, what's the secret in all this, Hugh?
Well, the secret is, Vern, organization.
This is chicken stock with an attitude. You'll love it. Okay, here are the ingredients we need. First of all, for the chicken stock, we will need chicken backs and necks, 2 leeks, and Hugh's going to show you how to do that because some people don't know how to do it. 2 carrots, 2 celery stalks, 1 onion, a few parsley sprigs, and a dozen peppercorns, 3 bay leaves, so what we're going to do here, these are all being pre-chopped up. All we do is move that around. Put this all over the place. Obviously, you can see this is high tech. Put the bay leaves on. Dozen peppers.
Not a handful.
No. It was a dozen. I carefully counted them, Hugh. Now we take this and we put it in a 450-degree oven for 45 minutes.
We're going to deglaze the pan. We're just going to get rid of all this stuff.
This is the same technique that's used in making gravies, sauces. It's called deglazing the pan. Sometimes you deglaze it with wine, sometimes with water, sometimes with even chicken stock. That looks pretty good, Hugh.
So normally you just bring that to a boil and let it cook for like a minute or so, and then you just get the rest and you put it in there. You see how concentrated that stock was?
After the chicken stock comes to a boil, you turn it to a simmer and cover it, partially cover it. And the reason why we partly cover it is to let some of the liquid evaporate so you get a concentrated stock like this. After 3 or 4 hours, strain it off. I use this conical strainer, my favorite. And then let it cool. When it cools, put it in the fridge overnight, and next day, use your skimmer to remove the fat. Then put it in margarine containers, whatever kind of container you have on hand, freeze it, and when you're ready to make your pear and parsnip soup or whatever, you have it ready. And you notice this is still a little frozen. This stock was made 3 weeks ago. So there we have it. It's now time to make the actual pear and parsnip soup. Well, it's time to assemble the parsnip soup. Here are the ingredients. We have the chicken stock that's already been made. We need some butter to put in the bottom of the soup pan because we're going to saute the vegetables. Then the vegetables have to be chopped. We will need 3 celery stalks, 2 carrots, 1 onion, 8 to 10 parsnips, salt and pepper, a tablespoon of butter, 8 cups of chicken stock, 2 jars of pear baby food. Of course, so what we're going to do is we're going to saute them in butter in the pan until they're soft, until the vegetables are soft to release the flavor. Perfect. Then we add the parsnips and the chicken stock. These have to sweat for about 5 or 10 minutes. Now it's time for the chicken stock. A little bit of the chicken stock was frozen, but that'll be solved very shortly. Okay, now we have one other ingredient which we'll discuss with you. We're going to put this on the stove and we're going to boil it and then reduce the heat, and we're going to keep cooking it until all the vegetables are soft. This will take probably 20 minutes to half an hour. When that is done, then we puree it in a blender, and we'll show you how to do that. And after that's all done, now we have the secret ingredient. The secret ingredient is baby food.
Baby food?
Baby food. Now you could puree your own pears, you could get pear nectar. This is the simplest thing of all. Baby food. And what we'll do is we'll be adding the baby food just to get the right flavor. The pear baby food softens the parsnip soup. Now you'll add 1 jar or 2 jars or 3 jars depending on how tough and coarse and harsh tasting the parsnips are. These look like pretty sweet parsnips, so we'll probably only need 1 jar. But we'll come back to that later once this is all done. Well, Hugh, these parsnips have been on for 20-30 minutes. Time to check them.
Yeah, they're ready.
Good, they're soft, right?
Soft.
So we take that. You don't want the lid, okay.
Don't want the lid.
Oh God, what strong hands. What we're going to do now is we're going to blend, use the blender, to turn this parsnip mixture into a puree for the final soup, okay? And what Hugh is doing is using a measuring cup and a ladle out. This is very hot, so he's only filling the blender to about 2/3, 3/4 full. Now be careful when you do this, because you could burn yourself, but Hugh will show you how to do it without burning yourself. Lid on, towel on top. Okay, that's done. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bring this back onto the burner, get the heat up a bit. Now, that's parsnip soup. Now we're going to make pear and parsnip soup. And what this is, of course, is the baby food. We discussed that with you before. And we're going to add 1 jar of baby food, stir it up, heat it up.
I would say you're going to need 2 jars.
Well, Hugh, you know better than I do. So it's tasting time again.
You taste it.
Use a fresh spoon. Yes. No doubt about it. Give that a little swizzle. Integrate the pear soup, the pear into the parsnip soup. Then the master chef, the Glaswegian gourmet, will make the final decision. Need salt and pepper, obviously, but...
That's great.
Okay, a little salt and pepper?
Yep. White pepper?
Yeah, for this soup I'd use a white pepper. We have white pepper and a black pepper. Don't be afraid of using lots of pepper. A little salt. Now you notice salt is not added to any of these dishes until the end. Because if you add it at the beginning, for example, you'll have no control over it. Now I'll do another little taste. We're running out of spoons here, Hugh, but that's all right. I'd say it's perfect. So what we want to do now is we want to take enough out only for your four guests or 6 guests, whoever you're having. And here we have, well, you can use this if you like. And the rest, we're going to freeze in containers for future meals. See, it seems like a lot of trouble for the chicken stock, but we have chicken stock now for 3 or 4 meals. We now have pear and parsnip, whoops, sorry, Hugh. We now have pear and parsnip soup for at least 2 or 3 meals, and so we're away. So we want just enough for your guests tonight. And now it's time to do the apple tart. This apple tart should be done the morning of your dinner party. We've already made one for you to show you what it looks like, and we're going to assemble another one in front of you to show you how it works. What we've done is we've taken 3 apples, peeled, cored, and chopped them, add a bit of water, sugar, and some lemon zest. Until finally we end up with, you might say, a coarse applesauce.
And for the tart proper, an additional 4 apples, juice from 2 lemons, 3 tablespoons of melted butter, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and a 200-gram square of puff pastry.
Now what we're going to do is show you how to zest a lemon. This is a special lemon zesting tool we suggest you get. Not very expensive. You can use a grater. The trouble with using a grater is you end up with a bit of finger in with your lemon zest, and more important than that, you cut into the white of the lemon, which we don't want to do. It's bitter, it doesn't add anything to it. Now Hugh's doing that, and what we do when we get all that done, we just chop it up. Now that's already added here, so we're not going to add any more, otherwise we'll end up with lemon pie. Okay, the next step in all this is to take the apples and slice them so they end up with sections like this, like we've shown you here. Now there's a bit of fluid in here, and the reason for that is this is lemon juice. When you slice the apples up, put them in lemon juice, otherwise they'll discolor badly, and you certainly don't want that in your apple tart. Hugh's going to show you how to do the sliced apple right now.
So if you take out the core with a melon baller, and like there's lots of different uses for melon ballers. You can ball melons, you can make Parisian potatoes, there's a multitude of things that you can do with
So
it.
when you use a lemon baller, you end up with a section like that.
And just take the ends off, and then
Add them in here, stir them around with your fingers, you get the lemon juice throughout, and now you're ready to make the lemon tart. Next part of the assembly is we take frozen puff pastry, which you can buy at
we're
any
not making a lemon tart, we're making
Oh,
an
apple tart, apple tart, apple tart. We're making the apple tart, and what we want to do is roll out the pastry now. This is frozen puff pastry. You can buy it in the freezer section of any supermarket. I made puff pastry once by hand. Never again. This is very simple. You want to roll it out so that you got one side long enough or wide enough to hold 3 pieces of apple plus a little on the side for the pastry to puff up. And Hugh's going to do that. Once he finishes that, we're going to add a layer of this apple puree, you might say, not apple puree, mashed apples, better still. And then we're going to lay the apple sections in little rows, like you saw down here. And then we're going to take it and put it in the oven at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. It's that simple.
There you go.
Now spread that out within 1.5 inches of the edge, because you do want to leave room for the pastry to puff up on the sides. This is an extremely simple dessert. You can also make a peach pie like this. You can make pear pie the same way. And with the peach, instead of using a puree of apples, we use almonds, and there's 55 pies you can make using the same technique, and that's why we want to spend some time showing it to you today.
So how's that, Vern?
Good. I mean, we're not sending a rocket to the moon here. We're making apple tart.
So you assemble it in rows, right?
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
And
Mine looks a lot neater than yours, but anyway, never mind that.
well,
There we are. You got the idea.
you got the idea, and then we brush some butter on.
After we finish all the apples, of course. Sprinkle a little granulated sugar on. And away we go. Put this in the oven. And before we cut to the next scene, I want to show you one of the most important tools to have in the kitchen, the timer. Don't leave home without it. Turn to 30 minutes, and the bell goes off, the pie is done.
So it's 30 minutes at 350.
30 minutes at 350, exactly. OPA, organization, preparation, assembly. We have the pear and parsnip soup done, it's in the fridge. We have the apple tart in the oven. We're now got a few little bits of preparation work, and you'll do this the morning of your dinner party. The first one is blanching the vegetables.
And for vegetables, 8 nugget potatoes, and a pound of pea pods.
Blanching, essentially pre-cooking till they're about half to 3/4 done, plunging them into ice water to refresh them, and then putting them aside, and all you have to do then is reheat them when you're having dinner. It makes your dinner party a lot more simple. So first of all, Hugh, we have the potatoes.
Now I think they're just about done.
Perfect.
They
So
are
we're gonna
done,
drain
actually.
them.
We're just going to drain them and set them in the ice water there.
Okay, all peas have a stringy bit running down the back of it, which is very tough. And Hugh's going to show you how to take that off. So first of all, he takes one end off with a knife and just peels back, and the string comes right off. It's not really necessary, but it improves the meal. It adds that extra 5% that makes your dinner superb.
We're
Now,
going to start the peas off.
ooh, peas will only take what, 2 or 3 minutes?
2 or 3 minutes, yep.
Okay, and when they're done, we refresh them. We put them both in the fridge. Now we're going to quickly assemble the chicken dish. The chicken dish is 4 boneless, skinless chicken fillets on a bed of cherry tomatoes which have been cut in half, mixed with
Half a cup of deli olives, 2 tablespoons of capers, zest from 1 lemon, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, pepper, chopped parsley, chopped oregano,
Now, when you go to the deli, you'll find about 3/4, you'll find bins 3/4 full of these various olives. This happens to be the herbed olives. Get them. Don't get the jalapeno pepper ones.
Line the bottom of the dish with cherry tomatoes, and then add half as much again of deli olives.
Add 3 tablespoons of capers. These capers have been drained. Don't use the juice. And then we have ground up, minced up, diced up oregano.
It's like oregano leaves. Like
Okay, you want
fresh.
to stir that up a bit, Hugh?
Fresh.
And then we add lemon zest.
Lemon zest.
Zest from 1 lemon. We're not going to show you how to do that. We showed you how to do that with the apples. Put a little olive oil in, Hugh. 2 tablespoons.
2 tablespoons.
Hugh has never used a tablespoon in his life. He just keeps throwing stuff in, but we're insisting he do that. It's part of his training. Stir it up. Even it out. Lay the chicken breasts on top. Oops, here we are. Peas again. Peas are done.
Peas are done.
Refreshed. Now, one little step we have to take here.
We need some pepper.
Pepper.
Right?
But yeah, well, you can do that now if you like.
Yep.
And take a little bit of that oil,
For the top.
and spoon it over the top.
So it's more than 2 tablespoons.
Well, just a dribble. You just want
Just
to
a dribble.
Brush it on with your hands. Whoop, but that's enough. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hugh gets carried away with the oil. We're done. This goes in the fridge. The chopped parsley is going to be used for garnishing the plate, and the oregano will be garnished over the chicken. So we're done. OPA, organization, preparation, assembly. 3/4 of an hour before the guests arrive, you want everything assembled. You want your plates, your soup bowls, your dessert plates all ready. You want your vegetables in pots ready to heat up. We're going to the fridge now and getting the soup and putting it in a pot and turning it just to simmer. We're not trying to bring it to the temperature you're going to serve it. We just want to warm it up. So we're going to turn that on to simmer. Put the lid on, and we're going to bring the apple tart out of the fridge on a cookie sheet because we're going to be heating the apple tart when it's ready, but we want to get it warm, bring it to room temperature first. Okay, that's it, Hugh. Let's go out and chat with the guests. They'll be arriving any moment now. Okay, the guests have been watered chatted to, and we're ready to start serving the dinner. What we're going to do here is we're going to serve the soup first. And while Hugh's doing that, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to the fridge and taking out the chicken dish and put it in a 425 oven for 20 minutes. So when the guests and ourselves have finished with the soup, the chicken will be ready. It's all a matter of timing.
I'm just going to add a little bit of a heavy cream to the soup, just to finish it off.
Gives it texture. Now, for those who are diet conscious, the cream is not necessary, it just adds a little bit. So don't worry about the cream. You don't have to put the cream in if you don't want to.
And then these bowls are just out of the oven. But they're not too hot.
Perfect.
So the chicken's in the oven.
Chicken's in the oven, Hugh.
Okay. So we're just going to take a little bit of whipped cream. Have you done this before?
No, I haven't. I'm interested.
You know, if you just make a
Happy face or something.
circle like that.
Watch this. This is real. I've seen it done, but I've never done it myself.
Doesn't matter what it looks like.
Ah, now.
And you just take a skewer or a toothpick and just make a little spider web.
Isn't that great? Now,
And
doesn't that add that 10%?
just a little shot of parsley.
Oh, what color, what presentation. You know, if it looks good, it tastes good. Give me a couple. I'll take them to the table. I really like the way you swirled that whipped cream around on top of that soup. That made it for me. Now we're ready now to serve the main course. The first thing we're going to do is take the chicken out of the oven. It'll be done by now.
It's like we've turned the vegetables on. It just takes a couple of seconds, actually a couple of minutes, but just to warm them up with some butter.
Excuse me, Hugh, I'm just going to go in front of you here and put
Right
the
there.
chicken. It's all done. Now, while Hugh is plating, I'm going to put the apple tart in. I'm going to turn the oven down to 150 degrees and put the tart in the oven to warm up. And by the time we finish the chicken dinner, the tart will be at the right temperature. Well, the tart's heating up, and now we're ready to plate the dinner.
This chicken just looks delicious, right?
Nice color.
Beautiful color.
Use a slotted spoon for serving this because you don't want the plate running with olive oil and juices. The juices are there to sort of get the flavor permeated throughout. Another interesting thing here, sometimes we have this dinner quite often, and I'll cook an extra couple of chicken breasts, and I'll put more tomatoes and more olives and more zest and more capers in. And the leftover sauce, the next day, I heat up with a little pasta. It makes the greatest pasta sauce, Hugh. But you don't want all that juice floating around the plates.
No, you don't. And then the potatoes.
They have been
They're
heated up
ready.
in a little butter. And you don't want to serve too much for these meals. Remember, it's a 3-course dinner. We've had soup, we're having this, we're having the tart and the ice cream afterwards. So you don't want your plates loaded. The worst thing you can do is having too much food on the plate. Beautiful.
And
Then the peas.
the peas. And the same with the peas, you don't want like too many. And you see how the little bit of butter gives it a glaze?
It does.
Absolutely.
Now just a little garnish.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, what we have to do is just tidy the plate a little bit, Vern.
You notice what he's doing there?
Take the splashes off, you know.
Very
so that
important.
it looks professional, you see.
That's what they do in all professional kitchens. They clean the rim of the plate.
So maybe a little chopped parsley. What do you think?
I think so.
Huh?
It's too late now for me to disagree with you anyway.
Well, if you don't like parsley, that's too bad.
There we are.
There you are.
Okay, give me a couple of those plates, Hugh, and away we go.
How does that look?
Ooh, which one's mine? Great stuff.
The smallest one, Vern.
Okay, we finished our chicken, and now's the time for the pièce de résistance, our tart with ice cream, garnished with a little cranberries and a sprig of mint. So I'll get the pie out of the oven, if you'll be so good as to get the ice cream out of the freezer. Now you could serve this pie cold, but if you warm it up, it releases the flavor.
It's nice, warm apple pie and ice cream, right?
Now, there's enough pie there for 6, but we're only going to plate 4 because there's only 4 people for dinner. That makes sense to you?
Yep.
Ooh. Oh, you're getting very fancy. Again, you don't need too much. This is a 3-course dinner. We went over that before. This is a good quality French vanilla ice cream. If you're going to serve ice cream with dessert, get the best you can afford. Okay? Garnish with a few dry cranberries.
Dried cranberries around it.
For color. You notice all our dishes have color. The pie and the ice cream looks bland by itself, but the dried cranberries give that little extra, that little touch of color. And then, of course, for more color, we're going to have sprigs of mint, fresh from my garden.
How's that, Vern?
Oh,
How does that
beautiful. Okay, here we go. Here we are, Hugh. I think we've earned a little sip, and bon appetito.
Bon appetit.